Hi, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2. And peace and blessings be upon you and your family this afternoon. Now we are going to get right back into For Men Only. We are in chapter number 8. This is take number 1 of chapter number 8, which is entitled, The Man She Had Hoped to Marry. What the woman who loves you most wants you to know. And this chapter goes like this. In just a moment, I'll share my biggest surprise from all my embedded mail, research and interviews, surveys, and websites. But before I do, I want to take you to a different data bank entirely. The mailbag from wives and girlfriends who wrote an email Chpt after reading For Women Only. Overwhelmingly, they relayed two things: how much they didn't know that they didn't know, and how much the relationship had changed once they understood their man's inner life and started doing things differently. The change in two that starts with one. The change in two that starts with one. At various points in this book, you have found yourself saying, but if she would only be reasonable, I wouldn't have to do all this stuff you're telling me. We sympathize with that sentiment because Chpt and I have each felt it at one time or another in our own learning process. So many of the women who wrote into Chpt described the same feeling. This is unfair. Why do I have to do all the work? As well as how they came out the other side. Look at this excerpt from one email. I fought my urge to defend myself and prayed that God would open my heart to consider the possibility that it was me, not my husband, who needed to change. And of course, I immediately realized that was true. I was frustrated to know that I had behaved this way for 5 years of our marriage. But by the end of the book, I owned it. And I also realized that if I had the power to destroy my marriage, I now have the power to change and build it up again. Guys, we could say the same thing. We don't have to wait until she completely understands us to see positive results. Now that we have more clarity about several key areas of her inner life and needs, the ball is in our court. We now seen over and over that you can be the only person to change in your relationship and still expect great new beginnings. Your marriage is definitely worth you taking the first step. The ball is in your court, which leads me to the biggest surprise of all. The one most important thing, as you can imagine, being the embedded male gave me lots of opportunities to be surprised. but nothing can be compared to how I felt when I looked at the end of the survey. After 24 multiple choice questions, we gave the survey takers a blank space and asked, "What's the most important thing you wish your husband, significant other, knew, but feel you haven't been able to explain in a way he understands?" I assumed that the women would have plenty to say about what their husbands didn't understand. And in all honesty, I had to gather my courage to look at the responses. And then I was astonished, because the top thing that women wished their man knew was this: "You are my hero." Not always in those exact words, mind you, but invariably with that exact meaning. Over and over again, when women could say anything, they tried to express just how central their man was in their life, how much they admired, appreciated, and needed him, how much they wanted to make him happy, and how grateful they were for such a wonderful husband. They were saying, in essence, that their husband really is the man that they had hoped he would be when they married him. Their average, ordinary guy, the person who sometimes leaves his fly down and the toilet seat up, is their knight in shining armor. Look at what this survey taker said she most wished her husband knew: "That he made me the happiest woman in the world. I could have never asked for anything more. His love and support throughout our marriage is more than any woman could want. I am so lucky to have found him 32 years ago. He has made me the happiest woman in the world. I could have never asked for anything more." There's no way in this short space to give you the same sense of surprise that I had as I sat at my computer and scrolled down so many similar survey responses. Here are just a few examples. How deep my love and respect is for him. How much I appreciate him. How much I care for his happiness, feelings, and well-being. How much I respect him as a person. I would trust him with my life. My husband means more to me than words can say. He is the true essence of what I dreamed a husband would be when I was a little girl. That I dearly appreciate his hard work. That I feel incredibly lucky to be with him today. When he puts himself down, it hurts me. No one should say bad things about my favorite guy. They feel it, but don't always know how to show it. I had been skeptical when Chpt proposed this idea, but she suspected from her talks at women's groups around the country that most women really do feel great respect and appreciation for their husband or boyfriend, but don't always show it. Often women simply don't realize that some of their words or action actually convey a lack of trust, when, as she says, that is not the way they feel at all. So on the survey, we decided to ask the question directly and see what happened. Chpt guessed that at least 9 out of 10 women would jump at the chance to confirm that they did respect and appreciate their husband or boyfriend, and she was right. Is this statement true or false? Although I may not always show it well, I do deeply need, respect, and desire my husband, significant other. Choose one answer. True, 93%. False, 7%. In closing, I will leave you with this comment from one woman who spoke for many in trying to describe just how important her husband is to her. My husband smiles at me when he comes home from work and discovers the kids have drawn monsters on my legs with markers. He appreciates egg sandwiches and SpaghettiOs more than a gourmet meal. He believes that I am a better mother, more talented, and a more virtuous person than I actually am. His external optimism changes me ever so slightly, day after day, into something more beautiful than I otherwise be. He's imperfect, puerile, I'm going to spell that word for you, Puerile, and sloppy, yet strong, wise, and loving. The fact that I get to live with him over the course of my lifetime is one of the biggest scams I've pulled off. I keep waiting for him to wake up, jump over the mound of unwashed clothes, and bolt out the door. But he sees even my imperfections as endearing. Over the past 10 years, we've both changed. But the one thing that remains constant is my utter and unashamed need of him. Not to mention, he's really good in the sack. A final note. As Chpt noted up front, men often process new information differently than women do, mulling things over internally and perhaps investigating perplexing topics more closely. We urge any women seeking a peek at this book, right here, to give their men the space and time that they will need to process and recognize that they may not actually want to talk about it. They may simply want to practice it. For men who want to learn about certain areas in more detail, we list additional resources at www.formenonlybook.com. One good next step is Emerson Eggerich's book, Love and Respect. Now, I'll spell his name for the book, Emerson, last name Eggerichs'. Love and Respect is the title of the book, particularly the chapters written for men, for a book referral from this book. So lastly, we have the citation and the acknowledgement, which I'll certainly go through that, and we'll be done with this book. Another book done. All right. So I want for you and your family to be blessed. I want you to have an awesome rest of this day. So be well. Take care. And until next time, later, y'all.